Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hobby Lodge, and this is hopefully video 1, 2 or 3 of my top 5 this year. Hopefully you've seen one on modern video games, retro video games, which is definitely this one, so stick around, or board games. I'm doing 3. I don't know how they're going to release, but hopefully you see all 3 eventually. But this one, we're going to focus on retro video games of this year. And that's the important bit. This isn't me picking retro video games that have come out this year or retro video games that I just pick from my list. I have to have played them this year. These are games that I've enjoyed, spent time with, had emotional connection with, and just absolutely loved. And therefore, I want to talk to you about them and show you them because they're worth talking about. So the first one, let's just jump into it, right? The first one is a game that I discovered completely new. Like, I didn't know it existed. I was doing a live stream on the Super Nintendo probably a couple of months ago now, on my Monday Night Retro show, and this game came up when I put it in the system, and it was Sky Blazer on the Super Nintendo. Now, this game, generally didn't know what to expect, and I was super happy when I played it. It has very much reminiscence of Hook on the Super Nintendo, which is a game I am familiar with, and I believe it is by the same developers. But ultimately, this is a side-scrolling and vertically scrolling sometimes platformer where you are, just a hero trying to make his way through the world, and it just comes with so many. What I loved about it was the myriad of different ways the game plays. From platforming to the sort of adventure style to the shooting to the different power ups. And the theme of it, everything changed. It stayed fresh all the time you're playing it. Now I haven't completed it because it's a blimmin' hard game, but I've gone back to it a few times since that stream, and it just feels like a really good platformer, like just a really solid game that I'm really enjoying. Like I say, all the different visuals in the game and just the way it plays is one of those games where you just keep wanting to come back and keep playing it. So yeah, we played it on the stream. I thoroughly enjoyed it. From what I hear from people, it is a well-known game. It turns out it might be one of the more pricier ones if you're looking for that full box copy. Luckily, I don't collect that. But regardless of its value, I suppose if you do end up paying for it, I can at least tell you that it's a blooming good game, because how many of the big expensive games aren't out there that aren't that good? But for me, yeah, Sky Blazer, wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was. In fact, I didn't know anything about it to know, but once I played, I was hooked. Oh, there we go. Back. That wasn't meant to be a reference, but I suppose it's pretty good. But yeah, I was hooked on it, and I've played it a number of times since. So yes, Sky Blazer on the Super Nintendo gets my number 5 spot for my favourite retro games of this year. Next up. Now, this is going to happen, and you know this is happening. There's going to be some Commodore games in here, right? And there's going to be some homebrew in there. So that's we just need to move past it, okay? So the first one up is Battle Kingdom for the Commodore 64. This is a game that I believe is massively undersung and is a hidden gem on the system. Certainly from Cytronics' homebrew collection. I don't know how well it sells. I don't see many people talking about it, but I really thoroughly enjoy it. So yes, Battle Kingdom on the Commodore 64. Look, ultimately the game is a simple premise, right? It is a top-down view of your character trying to rescue a princess from a dragon. And you do that by collecting fragments of a magical sword, and then you take on the dragon and you destroy it. You do that by scouring the town, killing the bad guys. It has kind of a zoomed out view to then zooming in whilst you're in buildings where you can take on enemies, and when you're zoomed out, you're just trying to dodge, almost in a Pac-Man style. You're trying to dodge the enemies from getting you. So you're making your way around a grid where all the houses are by going into the lit up houses, clearing them out of the monsters, hopefully collecting a piece of the sword or some arrows or some other bits and pieces. And then once you've cleared out all the buildings, and you've got the sword, you head to the center and you have a boss battle with the dragon. Now, the first few times you do it, you'll go, this game's easy. There's no worries whatsoever. And you're absolutely right, it is. But it's about repeating those cycles. And each time you go in, the dragon powers up and it becomes stronger. And actually, you know, it actually looks completely different as well. And you have to keep battling with this dragon to defeat it. So really simple premise, but has that one more go aspect to it. Has that kind of replayability to it. Really simple mechanics, controls well, sound effects are great. The graphics are absolutely perfect for what it can do. And it's just a really enjoyable game. So yeah, I think it goes in the sort of hidden gems, undersung, viewed game for me, and I play it a lot. So yeah, I would definitely put Battle Kingdom in my number 4 slot for games that retro games that I've thoroughly enjoyed this year. Now, to stay with the theme, and this is the last one of the Cytronics, so I won't make the whole list Cytronics, right? That would be crazy. But, you know, you guys know I love them. And the next one is another game that I play at least a couple of times a week. So I can't not put it in here because I have to be true to myself. I have to be true to you guys about the games that I thoroughly enjoy. And that game is Guns and Ghosts on the Commodore 64. It's just a fantastic game. It is a really, I mean, I've described it as bobble with shotguns. So if that doesn't whet your appetite, I don't know what will, because that sounds like a game I want to play, and thankfully we can. It's here. So this is a very simple single screen platforms with spawning monsters. Some, you know, bats, skeletons, zombies, all sorts of things for you to fight. And yeah, you got to clear the screen. If you clear the screen out, you can then move on to the next screen. You can either be single player or 2-player. You take on the role of some brothers. Those brothers, one of them's got psychic powers, one of them's got a shotgun, and you can sort of mix it up in different play modes. There's actually a real bunch of different ways to play this game. So yeah, it's really cool from that aspect. The shotgun has that kind of, it's the best gun in the game. It will kill an enemy in 1 or 2 shots, but it's limited ammo, right? This shotgun's got 2 shells in it. Once you've emptied those barrels of that gun, you've got to stand still. You can't move and reload. This isn't Doom. You've got to stand still and put those 2 cartridges into that shotgun and cock it and be ready to go. So yeah, it's all about precision, timing, bit of strategy in there, thinking about what enemies and where to take them down. There are power-ups in the game. You can collect stronger bullets. You can even collect more bullets to make your gun bigger. You can get invincibility and all sorts of other things in there as well. There are bosses in the game for you to take down. I think there's over 70 levels, and it's just a really fun game. Again, great graphics for the system, great music, of course, the SID chip, who couldn't love that thing, and just a great game to play. And again, you want to jump back in and play again. So yeah, for me, Guns and Ghosts is just, I can't not put it on the list because I have gone back to it time and time again, and if that's not games of the year, I don't know what is. Right, next up is a game that just reconnected with this year. In fact, is part of one of my most fondest memories of this year as well. And that is, and everyone will know this, I bang on about it as much as I possibly can. It is IK Plus on the Commodore Amiga. I could have said the Commodore 64, but the better version is on the Amiga. It's just, for me, is the best representation of martial arts in a video game, and it works so damn well. You should all be blooming playing it. You know, it's not a fantastical fighter, it's not Mortal Kombat, it's not Street Fighter, it's not King of Fighters, it's not trying to be any of those. You know, Street Fighter 2 I could easily put on one of my favorite games of all times list. It'd be a no-brainer, right? But I love, you know, as someone who's done martial arts in the past, I love the pureness of it. I love the one-hit knockdowns. I love the points system. I love that, you know, if you hit someone in the front, it scores more points than hitting someone in the back. It just works so blimmin' well. The contact, when you actually make connection with your foot or your fist or your head, or, you know, it just feels great in the game. It really works fantastic. And the bonus games are great fun. And I tell you what, the third person aspect, not third person as in perspective, but that third fighter in the game changes it big time. You know, if this was a one-on-one fighter, it would still be a fun game. But the fact you've got that potential third character in there, whether that's 1 player and 2 computer players, or 2 people players and 1 computer player. Just having 3 fighters in a match really makes you think about what you're going to do, you know, and how you're going to take them down. I genuinely love it. I can't help but fire it up every single time I turn on either my Amiga 600 or my Amiga 1200. That game is, I mean, I finish streams on it. I just go, oh, you know, we've got 10 minutes left. I'm going to fire up IK Plus. I will play it on lunch break. I will play it just when I've got a few minutes spare to throw in a quick match, because you can just jump in, get a fight going on, see what belt you can get to, and there you go. I love it. I absolutely love IK Plus. I cannot tell you how much I love that game. The sound, the graphics, the feel of it, the play of it is brilliant. So if you've not tried it, get in there and give it a go. And as I said, it comes from one of my happiest memories this year, and that was me battling my friend Paul Retrobait on stage at Blackpool, playing this, and it was just a great time. So you know, I can't not put it on there. IK Plus. I don't actually own a original box copy of it. I think it was a Hit Squad on the Amiga, but it comes in compilations all the time. So yeah, but I will get it. I have got it on the Commodore 64, and it's also a great game on the Commodore 64. Again, that system handling the game the way it does, it deserves a recognition as well. But if you're going to play it, the Amiga is the way to go. Right, so that was my number 2. Ooh, so now we're getting into the number 1 slot for my favourite retro game of this year. And again, for some people out there, this is not going to be a surprise. I completed this game from start to finish on live stream over 4 sessions. So I think over 8 hours of gameplay, and I thoroughly enjoyed every single step of it. And that game is Sam's Journey on the Commodore 64. Absolutely blimmin' loved playing this game. It's almost a little bit sad that I finished it, because I've not necessarily got a reason to go back, unless I want to try and 100% it, and maybe I will, but certainly I think I might give it a year and then go back to it, because yeah, it was just, what's an amazing game. If this had come out when we had Commodore 64s as kids, people would have looked at the Commodore in a different way, I think, you know, especially all those console fanboys out there. And I know I'm a fanboy of the Commodore, so I say it with tongue in cheek. But this would have made people see that system as an absolute, you know, console rival in many ways. Great platforming, great music, great sprites, great sound effects, great exploration, tons of hidden secrets, tons of collectibles. Has boss battles in it. The costumes, they work very similar to games like Kid Chameleon, where you know, you grab a costume and you put it on, and then gives you the power of that sort of persona. You know, the pirate has a cutlass, the ninja can grab onto walls, Elvis can go spinning through the air to glide. There's a spaceman that can rocket up into the air, and there's a baseball player that can throw rocks in myriad of different directions. And all of them obviously help you through the game. There's a vampire you can turn into a bat. It's just fantastic for that. It's really really enjoyable, and I loved playing through it. Every minute of playing through that game was a joy. The bosses could have been harder, I'll say that, because even I was surprised at how, well, the first one was the hardest, but I was surprised at how easy I took down some of those bosses. Yeah, I just for me, Sam's Journey is a game that is just, this year I've had a reawakening with the Commodore, right? The Commodore 64 in January, the Amiga as we've gone on. I've got maybe something else Commodore coming into the lodge, which I can't wait to talk to you about and show you. But it's just, these games have just absolutely, I've just loved it. I've genuinely loved playing with them. And I could have picked a whole bunch of other games to maybe be in 5 through to 2. But my number 1 wouldn't change. My number 1 this year is Sam's Journey. It doesn't matter about anything else. This is the game that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I can recommend it to anyone, be that physical, digital, or any other way you can play it. I believe it's coming out on the NES, so if you are that sort of console fanboy, get yourself a copy on the NES as well, because you'll love this. You will love this game. It is fantastic, and yeah, it's my game of the year for retro video games. So there we go. Look, I know there's a bit of Commodore in there. mostly. But I have to be true again to the games I've played, how I feel about these systems and what I've enjoyed. I hope you like the video. There's more to come, right? There is the modern video games as well. There's no Commodore in that, I believe. I don't think they could do that. But the board games as well is one I want to go through. So look, let me know what you think about the games I've described. What were your games of this year? If you fancy doing a video response, please do tag me in it. I'd love to know what your games are. But yeah, hit the like, hit the subscribe, all those things. There's another one to come, or two more to come on the other systems, as I said, board games and video games. And then we're into the usual stuff throughout the year and next year. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you real soon. All right. Bye bye.